Okay, it is Monday, May the 17th. It is 5 o'clock. I'm calling the BEDC to order. At this time, we'll take a roll, and that's Connie Schrader.
Here.
Bill Gossett.
Here.
Sam Keir.
Here.
Kevin Plunkett.
Here.
Ron Spencer.
Here.
And new member Jeff Halladania.
Here.
So are there any public comments? Okay. Starting off first with 3.1, approval of meeting minutes from the regular board meeting of April 19th, 2021 on page 3.
I move that we go ahead and approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
All those approve? Aye. All those oppose? Passes unanimously. 3.2, acceptance of financial report provided by City of Bastrop's Chief Financial Officer for period ending April 2021, seen on page 6.
I saw no issues with the financials. I make a motion to accept them. Second.
All those approve?
Aye.
And all of those opposed? Passes unanimously. I'm going to skip around a little bit. We have several projects that we're going to be talking about in executive session, but we do have guests. I think probably we'll want to hear from them before we go into executive session. But like I said, I'm going to skip around just a bit. What I'd like to do is go down to 3.8, discussion and consideration on the ratification of employment agreement with interim director. So we have hired an interim executive director, Janora Young. She comes to us highly qualified. We did this with a unanimous consent agreement as opposed to calling a special meeting to come in and do just a single vote on that. But we would like to formally ratify that. At this time, Charlie, I believe I would just call a roll to ratify that.
I'll move that we ratify the employment agreement.
Second.
So specified.
Okay, Charlie, I think we just had a and a second. So I'll call the roll individually for that ratification. Connie Schrader?
Yes.
Bill Gossett?
Yes.
Sam Keir?
Yes.
Catherine Nash, yes. Kevin Plunkett?
Yes.
And Ron Spencer?
Yes.
And Jeff, I'm going to leave you out because you did not do the original vote at that time. I want to thank that at this time, Jeff is a new board member, but he's not really a new board member. We welcome him back. He has been on the BEDC board before. He is coming in for Charles Washington, who resigned recently within the last month in order to spend more time with his family. He was looking forward to retirement. He promised his family he would be ready and available to take care of grandkids going to school in and out of Austin, and found that this was really tying up his time. Thanked us for the opportunity, and we want to thank him for also serving on the board, even though it was a short amount of time. So I think before we do go into executive session and with our guest, why don't we go to 3.3 just for the presentation piece of this, which is the discussion and possible action on Resolution 2021-0008, authorizing the execution of the professional services agreement with Corex Utilities to perform a wastewater study in Bastrop's extraterritorial jurisdiction, the ETJ. I believe you had additional information that you were going to share with us at this time, so I'll turn it over to Jean to maybe do the intro, and then we'll hear from you.
Board, thank you. Yes, so Corex and Kimberly Horn are back this month to help answer some additional questions. I know a few of you did have some questions. I believe that we can hopefully answer those this evening and have you guys understand the project as a whole. We did do the full presentation last month, so we're going to kind of skip the full presentation and just kind of go into, we can put the map up so everybody can see that, and then I think we would like to take some questions.
And any questions you have? I know last time we were here, we talked about residential and commercial and industrial. And so we have not made changes to the agreement, but we are completely in agreement that we can change the reimbursement so that it only is included in the commercial and residential. Gene and I have talked about, and the engineers and Paul and I just now talked about, a lot of this study is going to affect the commercial and industrial aspect of growth here in our study area. We're going right down Highway 71. We're going down 21. Any infrastructure that we can place along those highway corridors are just going to really allow a much more commercial and industrial development. Part of what our study will do is look at how much of that is potentially there, and then how we'll serve that. And we're not going to, we've got the study going north and south and east and west of all those highways, so there will be some residential components that we'll have to figure because we have to bring those in to see how large the facilities need to be, how large a wastewater treatment plant would be. So there will be some of that in there. And I also wanted to point out, if you notice the colors of this map, are the different CCNs, the different service areas. The cities is depicted in there, Corix is depicted in there, and sometimes those CCN lines get drawn for arbitrary reasons, or just because that's where it was convenient on the map to draw it. That may not be the best place, and many times it's not the best place to divide service up. And so that's one thing we want to look at in the study too. Those CCN lines may shift in different places where there's places that are certified for Corix service that may be better to have the city serve because of topography, gravity, those kind of things, and vice versa. And we want to try to find those, and so that we're doing the right thing. And that's one reason that the city folks have been amenable to doing this, is because there may be some adjustments in service adjustments in service areas that we need to go. With that, yes, sir.
How do you change CCNs?
It's an administrative task that you take to the Public Utility Commission. It's not easy, but it's not hard. It's just administrative, and we have to, especially if we're both agreeing, if both parties agree, it's just an administrative issue. You file with the commission, and it takes 2 or 3 months or more to get it approved, but it is an administrative.
Is there money or fees or?
Not at the PUC, just the cost of doing the, there'll be a little bit of legal fees and things like that.
Fees and things like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I have a question here. Could you, I guess that's in a north-up attitude on the map you have there. What is the westernmost black boundary line? How far west up 71 does that go?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
And the black line in between the two pink ones up on the north side, is that, what does that represent? At the very upper left-hand top, you've got a black line going through two pink areas. Is that just the road? Is that 1209?
The black line, the legend says it's the proposed service area.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, that was a very simple question. We can. Oh, that.
I can't see it from here, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah, like the blue would be the city limits, and the kind of the pink reddish color is Corix's service area.
So what would your proposal be on the reimbursement process?
It would be very similar to what you see in the agreement in Exhibit B. We would just change the wording to say something like, instead of just per LUE or living unit equivalent, is that right? Yeah, living unit equivalent. We would just change it to say commercial and industrial LUE. And so the cost of the study, we would just divide it out over the commercial and industrial connections rather than everything. It'd make for a little bit higher per LUE reimbursement, which is fine.
But if the, if the capacity contemplates residential as well, then how would then any residential would just not be reimbursed, is that right?
Well, what I'm proposing, or what I'm thinking is the entire cost of the study is going to be spread out over, as far as reimbursement goes, over just the commercial and industrial. So if it's 93,005, whatever it is, divided by 100 commercial and industrial, well, then that's what it would be every time we got a commercial and industrial connection, then that reimbursement amount would come back.
Okay, so the study is going to split the capacity between commercial and residential?
It can, yeah. Yes, sir. In
Okay.
fact, that's part of what the study was going to do, is to look at how many of what kind of customers are out there, because that's what we'd have to use to size the plant.
Okay.
But the EDC wouldn't get its money back except when there's a commercial installation,
Right. We would, yes, yes, sir.
Industrial
Yes, sir.
which is,
I have a couple questions. So the EDC is going to fund the full amount of the project, of the study.
Yes.
Would the reimbursement for the commercial reimburse them for the full cost of the study?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was getting
Now-
at, yeah.
Well, is there a reason why they would only get reimbursed when it's commercial?
Okay, I was about to say, we're agnostic, or we don't really,
Okay, all right, if you're agnostic, then it doesn't matter to me.
it does not matter to
So-
us.
yeah,
I was
so
trying to solve a problem that I
it's-
thought you guys had.
Well, here's the problem. The problem is that a EDC cannot spend its funds on a residential style type of project, right? They can only spend their funds. Luckily, the Bastrop EDC has a great flexibility with respect to the uses of funds. If it promotes or expands new business development, that's an appropriate use of funds. This body's already made the determination that this will assist in the promotion and expansion of new business development. So all of that's okay. If they're going to get reimbursed all of the funds that they're expending, I'm not too concerned if some of the study will benefit residential, because they're going to get all of their money back.
Right.
If this was going to be a deal where they weren't going to get all of their money back, we would have to back out whatever portion of that cost was
Right.
associated with residential, and they would not pay for that.
so we can use any basis we want
Right.
on getting our funds back.
Yeah, so long as you're getting your,
it's all-
so long
all
as
the
you're
money.
getting your funds back. Now, my concern is, and I mean, I guess I don't have any problem saying this out here, because I think y'all need to hear it, and is, I mean, what are the odds of them not getting reimbursed? I mean, that would be my question.
Well, you just have to say, you're betting on growth in this community.
Right.
I would say, if there is a risk, you minimize that risk by keeping the agreement as it is, and just say, you get reimbursed for every kind of connection.
Right, well, my concern is they don't get reimbursed for, no, that's exactly right. But my concern is they at least get reimbursed for the cost that is associated with residential, if that makes sense to everybody. Because you can spend your money on the commercial. I mean, if y'all are willing to spend your money on the commercial and not get it reimbursed, that's certainly legal and okay. But they need to absolutely be reimbursed. If the city is not participating in this cost and they're paying all of it, they absolutely need to be reimbursed for every dollar spent that benefits a residential connection or a residential development or a residential analysis. That's what they have to be reimbursed for sure.
That way we have $0 invested in
Right.
residential.
That's
where your
right.
point is.
That's right. And if, so my preference would be they get reimbursed for the residential first.
Okay.
That's first in time.
And that's fine, that's just an accounting, of how it would work.
Right.
Because, I mean, the intent here was to reimburse you 100%.
I think
And so
that's-
it can be-
I think that's what they would prefer.
Yeah. And so, yes, the study will show us 45% residential, or you know,
Okay.
60, you know, and we can divide it up that way, and we can keep track of it together, you know, that way, so that we do residential first.
All right, well, those are you answered my question, so I
Okay.
was wondering where we were going with it, but,
So my understanding from when we discussed this last month was BEDC funding it really just expedites the study, because Corex would eventually, most likely, do a study of some sort like this for your own utility, correct?
We would, but it would be in smaller chunks, and it would just be focused on more particular projects. I mean, it would not be as global as this, and it would be hard to do, it would be hard for us to take in the city portion, which I think having the two together is very important. But yes, we continue to do studies, you know, all over our service area based on projects that come up. We usually, in some of these smaller cases, we have to get funding from the developer to do it. This is a bigger bite than anything we've ever done before. This would be a more regional look at anything, and that's why it's important to have the city, the BCD involved to expedite it and get it done.
Well, where I was going, and maybe this doesn't make sense now, but if our intention is to get 100% reimbursement, and your intention is for us to get 100% reimbursement, and if there will be a portion of those LUEs that directly benefit Corex, because you're now getting another customer and selling them ongoing service, can there be a part of the agreement, a time that if after 2 years we get reimbursed, so that we know? Or are you asking us to participate in the risk? Because I don't think any of us know how long it's going to take to get the money back.
yeah, and this agreement does put all the risk on the BEDC with respect to reimbursement.
It does, and I can't stand up here before you and say yes, you know, with a 2-year period or thing. I'd have
Or
to
can
look
we
at
have
that.
milestones that if in 2 years we get 50% reimbursement in 2 more years, you know, I'm not trying to be unreasonable, but the other concern that I have, and it may just be that I'm not fully understanding all of it, is if you have a cost, I believe you said $93,500?
Yes, I think that's right. Yes.
I thought part of doing the study is to find out how many LUEs that actually is. So if you don't know the LUEs now, but you know the total contract amount, how do you know what the reimbursement is per LUE?
We don't.
Seems like we're missing part of the equation.
You're exactly right, and we don't. And the way the agreement talks about that is as projects are developed, you know, if things are put on the ground, we will have a total number of LUEs in this study, unless, I mean, just it could be 1 million, whatever that is. But as we connect people, so the first project will be 1,000. And we talk about things being constructed in phases. So, and we'll make that calculation each time we go through to a new phase. So we're trying to take that into account. We're not trying to say that you take in the whole study area and there's 1 million LUEs, and so we take 93,000 and divide it by 1 million, and you only, you know, you get a small amount. We're trying to say, okay, we're going to do the study, we're going to identify how we're going to serve these areas, and then the next thing we'll do, then you have to start designing projects to build, and we have to build a project, a sewer line, something like that, to get new connections to be able to reimburse you.
I don't think you answered her question.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to answer it.
Okay.
And then you tell me if I'm way off
Okay.
base.
Maybe I'm sorry if I didn't understand
I'm
that.
often way off base. After you find out how many LUEs are out there, you are going to build into your rate structure a per LUE for reimbursing the cost of the project. Is that accurate?
That seems accurate, yes, yes, yes.
In other words, I know what a city would do is they'd say, all right, we're setting our rate structure for our utilities. Part of our cost associated with that is this study, and we're going to get reimbursed in that cost through our rate structure by connection fees, tap fees, whatever it happens to be. And it's built into that. So I'm assuming that's what you're going to do. You're going to and again, I do not run a utility company.
Very good.
I just play a guy that runs one on an obscure cable channel that runs at midnight. So that's what I assume you're going to do, is that you're going to build that into your rate structure so that when someone connects, you'll get the money out of that connection
That
to
is true.
reimburse for the fee.
That seems very
The cost of
accurate.
the structure.
Yes.
Is that, okay.
Yes.
I don't know, was that what you were looking for? No.
I've got a question here, if you don't mind. Let's step back for just a second. Last time you were here, you indicated that, and I'm going to ask you to point to where this area is I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
You said that part of what you're looking at will actually, because of the way the topography is of the land, would really be going to the new wastewater treatment plant that the city already has the CCN in. Is that correct? And if
Yes.
so, where is that
Yes,
area?
Yes, she's doing a great job pointing.
Thank
If
you.
If you go to the right,
Uh-huh.
or my right, yeah. That whole blue area belongs, that's in the city, CCN.
Right?
And as things are connected there, yeah, that would go to the city's new treatment plant.
Okay, and that's nowhere near, I mean, so you don't have any CCN in that area? That's the
No,
city's
sir.
CCN?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
No, but Ron, I think what you were saying is last month, the comment was made that it might be logical for the flow
Yes, sir.
to come from the pink area into the blue.
Yes. There's
Instead
pro-
of, and vice versa.
And there may be
could be
some-
some blue going to the pink.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you for clarifying that. So if indeed part of your connection fees by getting new customers in your pink area, if they were to literally go into the cities, why wouldn't the city get the fee for that versus you? I mean.
The city
it's
would
all-
get it. If the city's going to
Okay.
serve it, that's the whole point we were talking about. If we identify there are areas that we need to trade, then the city's CCN would change, our CCN would change. And in your example, theirs would get bigger, ours would get smaller, and those would become the city's connection fees and customers, not ours.
And the EDC would be reimbursed no matter which CCN is being covered, right? In the agreement, it just talks about total.
It just talks about the Corix
Oh, it's only-
CCN,
it's only
because
on the
I can't
Corix.
control what the city wants to pay you.
Okay, so it's only, so the 93.
I can't make Paul do that.
The 93,000 is only on your LUEs?
Yes. On LUEs that are ultimately served by Corix, yes.
Served by Corix. Okay.
Now, there could be, and this happens a lot, and I'm not saying it will happen here, but it does happen in other places. Maybe the CCN line doesn't change, but Corix puts in the infrastructure, the sewer lines, but the wastewater goes to the city's plant, and we become a wholesale customer of the city for treatment. Those are our customers, and yes, and those would be ones, part of their, would be reimbursement back to the BEDC, even if the treatment plant is the city's. And it could be vice versa, but I mean, they've got more on the ground than we do.
So would it make more sense, and just for the contract terms, to come up with a number of LUEs at this point to divide it up? So that because what I could foresee happening, yeah, let's say you go to 1 million and we're getting 50 cents an LUE or something.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
or a dime. That'd take a long time to build out. So is there a number that would make sense? And I'm not looking for, is there a number that would make sense where we know it's attainable? That's one of the things that we like to do with our, when we have new businesses coming to town, we like to aim a little bit low, so that they're not, so they make the contract, we want them to hit the number, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a 10,000, is it a, 5,000, 50,000, I don't know.
We could certainly do that. And it would be
I
kind
think
of arbitrary, but that would be okay.
It would be
I think
arbitrary, but it would
everybody's
be
a little
easy.
uncomfortable with like this
easier
thing going
math,
out
and we
like
know what we're
20
signing
years.
up for.
Yeah.
I think that's-
I think if you want, the staff and us to work that out where it comes into where it's, $200 or $300 a connection, whatever target we have, as long as it's, I can't have it be $10,000 a connection, and you can't have it be 50 cents a connection, and neither one of us, we want it to be reasonable, whatever it is.
Maybe look at it over maybe a 4 or 5 year period of
Sure.
time and say, this is what we think, this is what our goal is to build this out so many units in 4 or 5 years, and maybe use that as an arbitrary starting point.
And part of what the study would do would be kind of do that, would give you some land use, and we'd have to make some assumptions on, you know, what that timeline would look like. But, I mean, just standing here, I think, yeah, you could very easily pick a number, and because we kind of know what our target is as far as we're trying to reimburse, and if it's, you know, if it's $300 or $400 a connection, that's fine. I mean, that's reasonable.
For the reimbursement, if we're only reimbursed if they connect to Corex, it seems like the LUE estimate needs to be in Corex's service area, not based on the entire service, not in the entire study area.
You are correct. It would be only in areas that we serve. Now, I will tell you, we are working very closely with the green area to provide service in that area too, which that is Aqua Water Supply Corporation. That's their sewer CCN.
But this guy sitting to my right, I believe he's going to say the contract's based on this attachment that shows the pink area, and so that's what you would get, be
I believe-
eligible for reimbursement.
Look at it and make sure I'm right, because I hate to sit up here and read it, but it doesn't specifically say within our CCN, it says that we serve. And that's where I was trying to make the distinction of if we serve it, but it goes to the city, you know, if the flow goes to the city, that's still ours that comes to you. If it's in Aquas and we serve it, you would still get it. That wouldn't be included. So we were trying to be as broad as we could
I like that.
without spending Paul's money. He doesn't like it
Yeah.
when we do it.
Yeah, Paul doesn't want to spend his money. So is that fair to go back and work with staff and come up with something that is reasonable to make sure that we get our, not to make sure, but to try and
To just
get our
better
money
define that.
back within 4 or 5 years?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
absolutely.
Do we want to, is that a motion? Do we need to make a motion to send it back?
Actually, if you don't mind, and I don't think we need to make a motion. I think we need to have some more discussion in executive session to talk in more detail about some of these
Yeah,
things.
I'm not sure you can, I don't think you can have that discussion in closed session. This,
It's listed.
It's listed
No,
as
I-
one of the projects in executive session.
I recognize it is listed as a project. However, the Texas Open Meetings Act says that you can go in closed session for economic development if you're discussing financial information of a business you are asking to locate within the city, which this is not. I hate to tell you that. You've got to have this discussion in open session.
No, I think that's
It's okay.
completely fine. I would like to take a swing at this. What I don't want us to do is set up a reimbursement that makes the attorneys rich because we're trying to figure out how many LUEs went to this Corex, went to that one, and it's as complicated we've been down that road, and that's really not too lovely. So for me, I think it's more of, do we want to be paid back in 4 years? Do we want to be paid back in 5 years? Why wouldn't this just be a pass-through, and we are making an advance investment as a caveat to try to encourage, a catalyst to encouraging development? And maybe we throw something in that if all the area gets taken down, that we can there's a reason to be paid more in advance, but we have a really low bar of, we know in 5 years we're getting all our money back. Is there issues with that, Mr. Attorney?
No, ma'am, that's my preference.
If I might just off the surface, what I see as a downside for us is then I don't have any way to pay you back if it's not tied to LUEs, if it's not tied to new customers. Because the whole point of the study is to see how we're going to serve this growth, how we're going to serve new customers. And if I can't tie it to a customer connection to a new LUE, it's not giving me a revenue source to share with you or to get back to you. If it's just arbitrary, that word again, I'm sorry. If it's just we pick 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, then I don't see how that, I'm not sure that I can do that. I'm not sure that Corus can say, I will give you $94,000 in 5 years. Now, I'm happy to say I will give you that money divided by, if we come 1,000 LUEs or 10,000 LUEs or 5,000 LUEs. If we divide that, and as they hook on, we'll write you a check, once a quarter or half every mid-year or annually, however you want to do that. Because then I'll have the revenue coming in, I'll have that. But just to base it on time, I don't think I can do that.
If you don't mind, help me understand something here.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about the area in pink that is your CCN, right?
Yes.
Now, by looking at the map and looking at the areas there, you already know, or I'm assuming, and maybe I'm wrong here, okay, that you already know how many homes are in that area that are already on septic systems, because the majority of everybody that I can visualize there is already on a septic. So do you have an estimation of how many new homes or new connections that would be hooked up to your wastewater plant would actually go in that area? Because right now, everybody that's got a home out there is not on a sewer line. It's on our wastewater line. It's on a septic system. So do you have some estimation in that area that you believe you would be able to hit?
I don't really have a good number that I can give you. I know we're working on one small development right now that's another 500 that, that's going to have sewer in it. I think that will probably be a catalyst for more, in that immediate area. So I feel pretty confident because, there's some signed agreements and we're working on building a plant or getting a plant in here to lease or something like that. And that's 500. But I couldn't tell you 5,000. That's part of what we're going to do in the study is try to look at what's available and, do some land use assumptions up there.
Okay, and I understand what you're saying, thank you. But surely, when developers come and look at new places to build, they know pretty much who has the CCN in that area. Wouldn't it make sense that they're already talking to you guys? They're in your CCN area.
Yes, and I talked to, we talked to a lot of developers, not only in the pink area, but in the green area as well, working with a lot of them. And that's part of the information that we'll feed into the study too, to give us some good assumption about how many LUEs we will be serving. So I guess, yes, I could make a rough guess, and say there's 2 or 3, there's one developer that's 4,000, there's another guy that's 1,000, there's another one that he wants to do 3,000. They're all pretty early in their development stages, so if we added all of that up and get to 5,000 or 6,000, I don't feel that's unrealistic, but I don't know at this stage how realistic it is because we don't own the land.
And I'm just trying to get a...
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm just looking at the area and going, how many new homes are going to be going in that area? And obviously, their developers are going to come talk to you because that's a very important thing to understand. And just looking at where the lines are, it seems to me you would have at least an idea or a feel for the sheer number of homes in, let's say, 5 years that would be coming in that area. That's all.
So if we picked, let's say, like $200 a unit, which is a number that you referenced, that's not many units, like 500 units or something like that, right?
I'll have to do the math. It seems like it'd be more than that. 5,000. There you go.
5,000 units.
I left my phone behind me on purpose. I have the calculator.
5,000 units
5,000.
times 200 is $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Charlie, let me ask you a question. Have you reviewed this contract?
Yes, I have reviewed the agreement. I haven't reviewed it in the last, 30 days or so, but I have reviewed it, yes. And I'm happy to go into closed session if you have legal questions, all right? If you want to go into closed session, talk to your attorney about the agreement, any legal concerns you have, risks, those types of questions, I'm happy to go into closed session and have that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. You want an answer for the study before the study's done so you can do the right calculation, but in order to do the study, you got to do the study to get the right numbers. So,
Yeah.
I think to have an understanding that says we would like to have a payback within 4 to 5 years, to be able to do this study with that understanding, and then be able to come up with an estimated unit rate
Right.
out of that study for a payback in a 4-year time frame. Give yourself an extra year to finish it up. I think we could come back with an effective amount to be reimbursed. I think in the last meeting we had a discussion about residential and commercial, and we panicked a little bit about being reimbursed by residential. But I
Now
think
we like
legal has come back and said
Yeah,
the most
it's
important thing is
flipped.
we should have
The
reimbursed.
most important thing is we
It
get
is more
reimbursed,
helpful.
yeah.
That's completely different from where we were the last meeting, which was we were afraid of reimbursement of residential, and that's actually beneficial for the situation.
It actually is, and that's why it never occurred to us in the beginning
Right.
in those discussions to exclude those. And so Gene and I were talking about that, and I said, well, we can do that. You know that would work. It just might make it a little slower coming back, or you might have to charge a little more. So, and typically you can do that with industrial folks, but sometimes you don't want to, because you want them here and you want to do everything you can to encourage them.
But I think if everything is said on a standard unit basis, and it's established that we want a 4-year type payback, knowing that there's a 5th year of if it doesn't quite make it, and we get to a unit rate, I think then that's acceptable and meets what we would like to see.
Okay.
If there is no development, we know that's a risk. If all of a sudden Tesla vaporizes and disappears, or whatever's driving the force now, we'll all suffer with that consequence, and we can adjust it for 5 years or 8 years. We know that consequence. If that really happens, that's the least of our worries, actually. So I'd like to proceed and
And
get
it's not
this.
that much money. It's
No,
not
get this
95,000.
moving and get it done, and then establish a best estimate 4-year payback that we could get to as a proposal.
Well, just so I don't keep coming back and harassing you guys, and I don't mean to, but I will if you want me to. Is that something, and I just don't know how y'all operate, is that something that because y'all have approved the agreement once, is that something that staff could work out, our group and staff could work out and then report back to y'all, and we could go ahead, or do I need, and I'm happy to come back next time you meet, I hate to keep taking up your time on
I
it.
don't think we've approved the agreement. So you said we've approved the
I
agreement.
thought you did back in
once.
December, that may be my
No,
mistake,
the
okay.
last meeting was the first time we'd ever seen an agreement.
Actually, the board approved the CEO at the time, back in November of
To
2020, to enter into the agreement after the attorney had signed off on it. But by the time we had the files we needed, we had no CEO.
Okay.
So that's how it came back.
And the attorney hadn't signed off on it.
There you go.
That's also true.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the attorney not signing off on it, there's nothing approved that we're basing this on.
Yeah, that's all I was, I wasn't here, but I saw the meeting on
Sure.
the web, and it looked like y'all had approved it, so that was just my interpretation of what happened. So,
And
excuse me.
never question Sam and his math. It's $200, it's 500 units. The whole thing could be,
Right, we're only trying to get
hopefully,
93,000.
To
Sorry.
Bill's
Yeah.
point.
Why are we arguing with you?
Could be a bunch ado about nothing, and the whole thing could be
Even,
paid off in a
you know,
year.
even $20, I mean,
Yeah.
I can see that happening in another year.
And I'll have to get some, okay, but I think, something in that range, that $200 be pretty easy to commit to.
Okay.
All right, we can work that in. So if it's okay with the board, you can work through our new interim, right?
Through the
And
interim,
with
yeah.
me, and we can get everything done, get the language done, and then bring it back.
It feels like, board, we're in the same place we were. With the director, with sign-off from the attorney, that's what we're looking for, correct?
It's up to
And
you.
all we have to do is approve the resolution, and you'll take care of the paperwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly.
And
Yeah.
the completion of the reimbursement process. Yeah.
Yes. With what we've offered, if that's
That-
doable
You know,
for you.
I don't know about you, Nora, but after all this discussion I've heard about this, with all due respect to the confidence you've just given me, I appreciate it. I don't know how comfortable I am, given all the discussion I've heard. If we can just bring it back for your last review and check, I think I'd be much more comfortable.
Okay.
Okay.
But I don't think
Okay.
there's a need
That's
that you
fine.
have to bother us again.
I don't mind, not at all.
As long as you and the staff and legal have agreed on what you want to present.
We will come back to you with a solidified, based on the direction you just
Yep.
gave us.
Absolutely. We can do that. I think that'll
I
be
just
fairly
saw
easy
this
to
thing
get to.
going on 30 years, the way I was reading the documents. Oh, man, I'm not going to be around to do the accounting for that. The payback.
Yeah. So, well, thank y'all very much. I appreciate the questions and the interest.
Step by step. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I see we have several maps set up. This is also a topic of discussion in executive session, but let's get as much information as you would not have set these up if you did not want to present, correct? Or are you
Well-
taking those back to the back room?
Either, however you all would like to do it, we just haven't had a visual of the actual project. And so we wanted to really kind of provide you guys with, let me move forward just a little bit here. Myself, the attorney, Janora, and two of the project committee members, we did have a meeting with the county team as well as the city team to really kind of evaluate where we were 4 years ago and where we are today, making sure everybody's on the same page. We are all, we've already received the red lines of the actual interlocal agreement from the county, as well as the real estate agreement. And the city is finalizing their red lines on the ILA, the interlocal agreement. And as soon as we get that, then we will compile those with our own, get them back to the attorney to make sure we get that all kind of put together in a format, get it back out to everybody. And our goal is to keep this on a really kind of scheduled timeline. We hope to have everything back by this Friday in a rough draft red line format to then compile and get to the attorney as quickly as possible and try to get that turned back around as quickly as possible. So again, we just hadn't really shared with you all kind of, one, where it is, and two, what it looks like. So there are some ownership maps showing, oh, wrong button, helps when you, so this is our 10-acre tract here that we're trying to open up. So originally, this 2-acre piece was where the kind of the regional detention from everything that was kind of did not have any drainage plan to it at all would have incorporated this 2-acre piece here. And what we've done is, this is the lot that the county is interested in purchasing from us. They have been amenable to allowing us to incorporate what they already have on the jail site as well as what we are wanting to incorporate here. Again, this piece is also on the back side of the emergency management office. So all three of those lots there will incorporate this 2-acre, little over 2-acre piece of drainage detention pond that will, again, cover everything that's developing in this area. So that's kind of an ownership overview of the project.
So South Street wouldn't be completed at that point, right?
So South Street would
Would
go away,
would stay
actually,
dead-ended
yes.
where-
So part of the interlocal agreement would actually, they would, and I apologize, my brain just went completely dead. They would abandon South Street because what the county is wanting to do is do a justice center right here. And so they would actually have a covered enclosed walkway from the jail to that center, so they would not have to transport detainees across to court. And so they would abandon South Street here, as well as the additional street here, and then there's one just to the north of that. And they would encompass all, basically, literally take in all of their properties and replat it into one. So that would take care of any kind of outlying challenges that we have with buildings on current right-of-ways, et cetera. And again, just kind of showing the different components of the detention pond and the overlay of where the outflows would go back to Gills Branch from a drainage standpoint. And again, just showing the pond. So we just wanted to give you guys an update that we're working on this and moving this project forward, and we've put it on a very good timeline. And I cannot thank the project committee members for their help and support and really keeping everybody focused and moving forward.
So is the real estate agreement still the same kind of real estate agreement? It's still like $100,000?
So it is. It is. We're just, again, none of the people that signed it before except for Judge Poppy is here. So we're just bringing that all up to date. Even some of the lawyers, obviously, that were on that original contract are no longer a part of the organization. So we just want to bring everything up to speed and make sure the legal language incorporates everything that we need to.
So timing, has the real estate agreement or any of these things been shown to the Commissioner Court?
Originally, yes, back in 20.
They never voted on it?
But never voted on, correct. Well, actually, we did enter into the actual real estate agreement. There is an escrow already set up. I think $500 is currently in there. We still owe our half. But the county engineer as well as one of the commissioners was in that meeting with us. So there are full awareness of this project and what is going on, and as soon as we get all of that back, each entity will take it to their selective governing body at that point. Any additional questions?
So Ron or Bill, you were at the meeting. Any observations? It's amazing that this started in 2017 and there hasn't been a change in the cost of the property. And then this has no bearing on a discussion of Technology Drive. So in other words, there aren't any considerations of Technology Drive that are going to get in the way of the completion of the purchase of this land?
No, there is the caveat that we have to build the detention pond before the county actually fully purchases the property. So there is that caveat in there, and that's always been in there since day one. And they will not start. They're looking at about a 3 to 5 year time frame in regards to building the detention center, not detention center, but the justice center. Excuse me.
What agenda item are we on?
This is 3.4, discussion and possible action on an update about the MLK Technology Drive Extension Project.
We said it didn't have anything to do with that project, so I wondered why we were talking about it on that agenda item. So I was just trying to circle back around on that one.
Well, I mean, to answer your question, Chairman, yes, both Bill Gossett and I were at that meeting, and it was an interesting meeting. Yes, it was nice to get everybody in one room, but quite frankly, it wasn't. It could have been a lot more productive in that meeting, and not pointing fingers at anybody, but we didn't have all the information. We sure could have had a lot more information at the meeting to have a much more productive meeting. But having said that, yes, we got to where we need to be. We got everybody back on kind of the same page, and so, you know, we're moving along, I would say, but it has been quite a long time. So hopefully we can just do a little better job of getting everything together so that we can make more data-driven decisions.
So what do the ILAs do then?
So
If we're on the hook to build the detention pond before the real estate agreement is enacted, in other words, there'll be an escrow until the detention pond is fixed or created, right?
Correct.
So what does what does each ILA do?
So the ILA will be a combined document with all three parties involved, so the county, the city, and the EDC, basically giving us those trigger points. So the EDC will be responsible for doing the detention pond before the county will purchase the property. Then once the county purchases the property, they then have triggers to abandon the right-of-ways and clean up their plat lines and all of that on behalf of the city's requirements. And then ultimately, when all of the project is done, the county will own and maintain the detention pond. That's part of the agreement. And then once Technology Drive is completed, the city will actually own Technology Drive just like they do the rest of our streets in the industrial park. So that just covers all of those kind of ownership, access points for construction. You'll have temporary access and then permanent access, the right-of-ways, the easements. It'll cover all of that.
But isn't the cost of the detention pond part of the $1.5 million?
Yes.
So that's the connection.
Correct.
Okay, that's the connection
Yeah.
to MLK, is that the estimate for MLK was like $1,457,000 or whatever the heck it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes the detention pond.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I'm good now.
It's been a long time, Sam. It's okay.
Okay, any other questions about this at this time? Okay, thank you for the update. We are actually going to go into executive session, so I'm going to go ahead and read this, and we're going to go ahead and do that. So 4.1, Bastrop EDC Board of Directors will meet in a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to discuss the followings. 1, Sections 551.072 and 551.087, deliberation regarding the commercial or financial information as well as the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property received on projects. Gravity, Superglue, Dashboard, Fiesta, Swipe, Walk of Fame, and MLK Technology Extension Project and adjoining tracks. Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, and Sections 551.072 and 551.087, deliberation regarding the commercial or financial information, as well as the purchase, exchange, lease, and value of real property regarding the Art Institute's lease and amendment, 921 Main Street building. Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding potential claims by former Chief Executive Officer Cameron Cox. 4, Section 551.074, personnel matters, discussion of Chief Executive Officer position. So it is 5:53, and we're now adjourned and going into executive session. At this time, Jean, you'll need to hold back. We have a Zoom call coming in at 6 o'clock. Let's just jump to that. I think they have a quick PowerPoint.
So again, it's been a bit since we have shown this project kind of visually, and we did just receive, and all of you have a copy of this at the dais, the updated timeline as of literally this afternoon. So that project schedule is now, the start date will be, they're looking at August 2nd, and the bid phase will start on just here in a couple of days on May 20th. So we're very excited to get that project moving forward and working with the city and TxDOT to make all of those connections and providing an almost 2-mile loop around the community to connect around the river. So we just wanted to give you guys a really quick update on that and where that project is. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope, thank you. That'll take care of 3.5, and now you can just jump right into your staff report.
Go back.
Okay. Sorry about that. So this past week was Economic Development Week, and we were very excited to have a proclamation with the city. Thank you, Mayor, for reading that for us on our behalf and recognizing what we do on a daily basis on behalf of the community. And to the left there is just kind of a really overview of some of the things that we do and have done for the community. obviously the disaster recovery was the COVID grants and supporting the community, the small businesses with that. And then all of the partnerships that we've had over the years with the chamber, Visit Bastrop, the city, the county. We've worked with everyone to accomplish a lot of things that we work on, supporting people in business expansions as well as new businesses, and overall just promoting the community and developing workforce training opportunities. Tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. we will be doing a modified version of the Youth Career Day. I'm very sad that we are not getting together again this year physically, but this will be our 7th year, and we are doing a virtual Youth Career Day in partnership with obviously the school districts and the Rural Workforce Solutions team. We're using their platform to do this. It has been a challenge because everybody either was going through updates or cancelizations of their platforms all during this time, so we had to switch it up, and we've actually moved the date a couple of times just to make this happen. So we're excited that that's going to take place tomorrow, and they've actually asked us to extend it. We were originally supposed to do it from 8:30 to 11:30. We're now doing it from 8:30 until 4, so more students can participate. Hope to get people hired. And then coming up next Friday is our best breakfast. We are hosting it, and we'll be hosting it at 602 Brewing Company. I'm so used to calling it 602 on Main, and they've now changed it since they have the brewery. So, and then also coming up are multiple options for the sales tax workshop. If you guys are interested in taking that workshop, please let us know. We're kind of internally talking about what that might look like on behalf of the board. I know a few of you haven't had it in a couple of years, if at all, because we do have some new board members. So if you are interested in taking that, we do highly suggest it. It's a great course. It definitely talks about how we can use our funds and kind of the legal aspects of everything. So if you'll communicate with staff and let us know. And that's it.
In the packet, you mentioned the June 7th.
Yes. Oh, the joint meeting.
I had breakfast with the city manager and assistant city manager, Trey, and we discussed the meeting for June. And if it meets with your approval, we would like to move that to a July target date because there are some other things like discussed in executive session that need to be taken care of first. And I feel like we can do a better job of presenting a joint meeting if we have a little more time to plan. I spoke with Paul this afternoon. He was working with the mayor, and she certainly said that that was fine with her. And I also spoke with Kathleen, and she pretty much left it up to Paul and I to make that decision. So it's okay with you. We would like to shoot for July.
Just also, just to kind of put it on the radar, we always have a budget workshop in the summer as well. So think in terms of that being scheduled, and I think we probably should schedule a strategy workshop for the board. So we want to, talk about how these things all fit onto a calendar and put out some dates for that. So all real important work going on right now. It just seems like things are coming to a head. So we want to be on top of things. We want to get them on the calendar, and we want to have some great participation so we can move forward.
If I could, I'd like to thank Kevin Plunkett for, I met with him earlier this week in Eugene, and he gave me a tour of the industrial park, as did Trey. And he drove me around the community, and I really appreciate your time. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to working with you, and I'm looking very forward to working with the city and developing a very strong city partnership.
Thank you. All right, so we have some ad hoc committee. I'm not sure, the project committee, I think maybe we've gone through our projects today. If you have anything else to add, we'd love to hear it. Okay, and then Kevin, you've been busy with communications. I know you've been attending meetings with the city, so love to hear what's going on with you.
Yeah, I've been going to all the DRC meetings. I think I've missed one since in the past 2 months. So really getting a much better idea of how they do things, and I think, looking forward to Janora starting to go with me, and then we can kind of transition, but I think it's really helped. I think it's helped their understanding of what we're looking for too, because I've been participating as well as just listening. So, thanks.
That's great, thanks. And then I think we had Charles was working on the hiring of, and that's on hold. We have not made a decision yet to move forward with that position. I think that's a great topic to discuss in a workshop is organization and how we move forward with positions and roles and responsibilities. So we'll hold on that. All right, so is there anything else anybody needs to throw in here? I think we are about done. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
point of order for the city attorney, we haven't talked about 36, 37. Do we need to officially pull them since they're on the agenda, or can we just skip them? Okay, thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Second that?
All those in favor? We are adjourned. It is 7:55. 53? Okay.
Is it still daylight?
Well, yeah.